Welcome back. I'm Allison Schwanke, VP of Marketing at Knightscope, and today marks a major moment in how we approach modern security. Knightscope is announcing the acquisition of Event Risk, a national security company specializing in on-site guarding, armed security, and executive protection. Because the future isn't humans versus technology, it's humans with technology and advancing the autonomous security force, as we talk about here at Knightscope. So today I'm joined by Knightscope founder and CEO William Santana Lee, and Event Risk founder and CEO Eric Rose, and our Chief Intelligence Officer and EVP Mercedes Soria, and our Chief Financial Officer Apoorv Dwivedi. So before we jump into our conversation here today, I want to start with Eric, because you've been in the industry for a while on the human side. What are clients asking you for that goes beyond the human guards?
Yeah, I think that the need right now in our vertical really is technology capabilities and to be able to provide a holistic approach to security for clients. That's what they're wanting.
Interesting. So, Bill, you've been in the technology side. Does that sound similar to what you're seeing both on the autonomous security side?
I think there's a massive shift about to happen, because the industry has been so fragmented from so many different technology providers and service providers. And you're asking chief security officers to be the chief technology officer, the chief information officer, the chief information security officer, the head of facilities, the cyber person. And that's not what they're really brought up to do. They're focused on physical security and locking down a premise. And now they really need to be able to rely on one managed service provider to deliver that technology for them so they can actually do their jobs much, much more effectively. And that would require a combination of hardware, software, and humans.
Interesting. So from the whole team perspective, we've been talking about this humans versus robots for a while, and that's the wrong debate to have from what I'm hearing.
The robots are coming to kill everybody. No? I'm sorry.
We talk a lot about this here, about how most of the general public thinks about robots relative to what Hollywood has taught them. So I'm curious, Eric, from your perspective in the industry, what do you think about the autonomous security?
Yeah, I think that the misconception is just that robots are here to replace humans. And really what I look at it is more, it's an enhancement to human performance. So the technologies that are available currently through AI really lend more of a recipe to improve that human's capability, which ultimately leads to better services for the clients as well.
Is that aligned with you as well, Bill?
I think it would be helpful to share just a basic, simple math problem. So our country has about 1 million law enforcement professionals, about 1.5 million security guards. They need to run 24/7. So you kind of need to divide that by 4. So there's only about 600,000 humans trying to secure 332 million Americans across 50 states. That math literally doesn't work. If you don't believe me, you can go to the FBI Crime Watch clock and basically see that, there's about every 4 seconds, there's a property crime and a violent crime every 26 seconds. Literally, this is not working. So you have 2.5 million people, 300,000 cop cars, about 100 million cameras. Oh, by the way, maybe 2% are remotely monitored. And the whole industry, it's just not working. And chief security officers are being asked to do a lot more with a lot less. But you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. So having this managed service provider approach to give you a holistic solution, we believe is really going to make a dramatic difference.
Sure. So if you're newer to Knightscope, one of the things we've been talking about has been this autonomous security force. And I think anytime you're introducing a concept that it's fairly new to the industry, there's a need to define that. So we toss that term out a lot. So I'm curious, Bill, how do you define the autonomous security force?
Hardware plus software plus humans to deter, detect, and respond. One accountable entity that's responsible to manage that entire process. Today, that doesn't happen. The camera may not talk to the guard may not talk to the remote monitoring. All of that doesn't really talk to the robots. It's just basically a big mess that needs to get re-architected. And so that autonomous security force is literally focusing all the autonomy and AI into the security vertical, but as one unified force, one team, one mission, one force.
So I'm curious, Apoorv, from a financial standpoint, we've talked a lot about the shortcomings perhaps of people understanding technology. And since you helped a lot with the background of this acquisition, what are some of the things that you saw from a growth of Knightscope perspective?
Absolutely. So as Bill mentioned, the great thing about this acquisition and this partnership really comes down to how we partner both technology and humans together. Inherently, one of the drawbacks to a technology-only solution is that technology tends to be single mode, does one thing it's designed to do. Humans, on the other hand, are multimodal, which means they can do multiple things. They can see threat, they can assess threat, they can assess the level of that threat, they can respond to some type of an activity, or you have to program technology, and that's why you have multiple different technologies. So when we looked at this partnership, we saw that there's a lot of benefits to having the two together. You have humans that are multimodal, that can do multiple things, partnered with technology that allows them to do it. One of the things we looked at also from a financial perspective is, okay, where is the growth coming from? And the growth is really coming from, so today you have our clients who tend to either go bid out for technology alone, or they're bidding out for humans alone, because they can't bid for them together. What that means is that they're going to now have humans, they're going to have a camera company, they might have a perimeter intrusion company, they might have an access control company, and they might have a human monitoring company. All those are cobbled together, all those vendors are cobbled together to provide that combined unified solution for their for the perimeter. And the challenge with that is, then, as Bill said earlier, you have one person running multiple different types of jobs to make that happen. It's not effective. When we spoke with Eric, it became clear that if we combine the two and go to market together, now we can bypass both. We can both provide the technology side as well as the human side. And from a TAM perspective, we believe this allows us to go after both markets, technology market as well as the human guarding market. And that's kind of the underlying premise here, is the hardware plus software plus humans equals autonomous security force.
As you're speaking about that, I'm remembering when the two of you had first met, I heard that it sounded like you were both sharing your vision for the future, but almost from the other sides of the fence. So tell me what that interaction was like.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. So my first contact with Knightscope and with Bill, I explained that I felt that we've run our course as far as the human element of what we're doing, and what has been missing is integrating technology into guarding. You look at the military, you look at even some sectors of law enforcement, there's a version of integration of technology. In the security industry, we've been doing the same thing for years and years and years. It's a human that has a uniform and maybe a radio, right? And I felt that we needed to be proactive to figure out, what is that answer? How do we plug in? What do we do? And when I talked to Bill, it was basically just the reverse of, hey, we have the technology, we need the boots on the ground element to plug in. So really, that gave me the warm fuzzy of that we had definitely an alignment of what we were seeking, just from two different vantage points.
That was a surreal phone call for me. I put it on mute. I just listen, and I'm listening almost to myself, but like a mirror image of what was going on. Like, okay, we have to figure out how to work together. And a few months later, here we are.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important, because sometimes you go through an acquisition and there's someone has a really strong path forward and the other one kind of just goes along. And this is really collaborated together. So, what are some of the initial things that you see possible with this acquisition?
So, from my perspective and full transparency, there was an option to walk away. I wanted nothing to do with that. And then Bill, I think, was relieved that was we were on the same page once again. But I see a lot of opportunity where we have clients now that need integrations of technology. And when we talk about autonomous force, and again, the boots on the ground element, it's a one-stop shop, a single point of contact that we can provide those services for them. I don't have to farm that out. I don't have to get a subcontractor. We comprehensively can own that, again, holistically, and provide those different service deliveries to the client according to their needs. And every client has different needs. So for me, when I look at our client base and what we have currently in place, sky's the limit, honestly, because of the capabilities we can provide, also at a value add cost savings as well. So that's where my excitement comes from with this.
Yep.
And then it's literally primarily hardware, software, humans. So literally on this.
That's why you're on the couch, guys.
We're on the couch together. This is the autonomous security force. And then we get the capital to actually go execute.
Yes.
And it's very exciting. Then we got the team to come out here. And we spent the whole day trying to understand how event risk operates today, the people, the technology, and we're placing a bet on the people first and foremost. Eric's an awesome operator. He's got a wonderful team that supports and has been growing the company certainly double digits consistently. And we're just honored to have a chance to work together to literally define the autonomous security force.
Yeah, well, we've talked a lot about the human and the hardware. So Mercedes, I'm going to turn to you. You are the software component here. How does tell us what you're working on and how that fits into this acquisition here?
So the advantage that we have right now by acquiring Event Risk is that we can go to a client and say, hey, we take cover your security. Tell us what you need. We provide a solution and you purchase that solution. Opposed to trying to sell a product, opposed to trying to sell a human, you're selling now a solution. And there are a lot of companies out there that are using AI for things like object detection to detect that something is wrong in the environment. There's objects that are left behind. All these technologies that we are in the middle of deploying or already deployed, those are the intelligence that we're looking at to solve some of the problems. Because if you have a human, the human cannot be everywhere at all times. The robot cannot be everywhere at all times. But if you have cameras with AI that are recording everything and looking for patterns at all time, that's when you have a solution that covers 360% of what a client possibly needs. So we're working on a lot of technology for that. We have technology that we use internally that we're working on and technology that we use externally that we're working on. And that's one of the big parts of the software side that we're working on right now.
Sure.
On the internal side of things, I think not only just a go-to-market strategy of hardware plus software plus humans, but just how a human's guarding company operates, I think is a huge opportunity for us to bring Mercedes and her team to go build that operating system, that internal back office of how do you get a massive span of control for a supervisor? How do you automate reports? She's working on a bunch of AI agent opportunities. There is not just the how to go to market, is how you run the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that we have with our new offering is instead of a guard having a phone where they clear an alert or somebody has to access a browser to clear out an alert that was created by the system, now we have agents that we're working on that will automatically eliminate alerts that can be eliminated based on the intelligence that we have gathered. So a human would never have to touch those, will never have to look at that video, will never have to do all that. And at the end of the day, we provide a report that goes out to the chief security officer or the physical security director, and they can see everything that happened that day. And it's all automatically generated.
So on April 2nd, we're going to have Autonomous Security Force Day here, and we're going to be talking about those escalation levels of, 7 layers. The first one being all fully autonomous, and then how do you add that remote monitoring human element, and then how do you put that response portion in there so that you have a layered approach, like any security professional will tell you. The way lock down a premise is you have to have multiple layers, and all we're doing here is multiple layers of both humans and technology.
So Eric, you and I have talked a couple times about guarding, and the word that you often use is simple. It's not complex. It's you have a perimeter, you need X number of guards. Right. So I'm curious, I'm sure you've heard a lot of the AI and the tech that's been in the industry for a while. Why are things different now than maybe they were 5-10 years ago?
Well, I think that we digital transformation, I keep hearing is coming. It's coming. It happened. So it's and that's our industry is reluctant traditionally to accept that technology beyond when we talk about maybe an access control system. When it starts getting into a guard's daily duties and movements and communication, we're very apprehensive to accept that because everybody again wants to stick to the script. Humans, uniforms, flashlight, radio, and that's what we do. So for me, again, one of the biggest positives for myself, and when I look at the potential with what we're doing, is that, I don't know any company that's ever had access to R&D what we're going to have access to. Mm-hmm. And so that is the people that are in the field, which I always tell our folks, dream stuff up. So you're working every day. I don't know what you see in Boston or in Miami at your post. come back with solutions and ideas, and we can funnel it to, I mean, if you look what we have here, the opportunities with engineering that we have folks in the field that can send stuff up the chain that we can start to, again, research and develop into how to improve that daily duty of a security guard. So again, for me, that's a huge opportunity and a plus, and probably long overdue.
Yeah, that feedback loop, I think, we've all talked about this internally too, the feedback loop of technology. When you have things like, thousands and thousands of people driving a Tesla, then you tend to get a lot more feedback a lot faster. But if we're not working together as guards and technology now, that's not even possible without this happening.
Yes.
And to Eric's point, digital transformation has been talked about for years, since 20 years ago that I was working at Deloitte. So, but the difference is we start speaking to people about AI, we start speaking to people about machine learning, we start speaking to them about technology, and everybody's like, yeah, those are the buzzwords that everybody's talking about right now. But then you come back and you say, yeah, but we started 13 years ago. So that's when people are like, oh, you started way before that. And there's several organizations and several events that we've been going through with Knightscope, and now we're considered the OGs of the security space, of the physical security space. So we're pretty excited about that. And we have focused on continuing to maintain that leadership based on technology.
But 13 years of deploying technology all across the country, every time zone, multiple winters and summers, operating 4+ million hours, fully autonomous, we've learned a thing or two.
4.2 million hours.
4.2. Breaking news.
I need to change the invite now. Thank you.
But, we've got the K7 behind us, that awesome new autonomous security robot. The planning for it, the test procedures, it basically embodies all the learnings that we've had over the years, so that we can go deliver an unbelievably awesome product to help the officers and guards actually do their jobs, again, much, much more effectively.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to turn the tables. And Apoorv, I would love for you to ask a burning question of our new associate here. What are some things you'd love to know about the guarding industry from Eric?
Absolutely. I would love to know, just when your guards are on site, how are they keeping in, like all the things we talked about, right? How are they on top of what's happening? Is it truly a gap, or are they able to fully cover provide the coverage that they're looking for?
Yeah. So, that's a layered question, because really what it boils down to is the client's budget.
Yeah.
So if I can saturate an area with 5 or 10 guards, then sure, we can look at everything. But pragmatically, that nobody has that budget. Yeah. Very few and far between. So you do the best that you can with what you're given. So if they budget for 4 humans to be there, and we really need 7 or 8, then we have to maximize those humans the best that we possibly can. It's not perfect. And I think transparency is part of that. But again, when I look at opportunities with technology where you can insert and work with the humans, those gaps get eliminated, right? Yeah. So that's really, it's usually client dependent on their budget and what the ask truly is. But it's not perfect now. There are gaps, and it's just due to, again, budgets and over-reliance on human labor.
Follow-up question for you. When we talked a lot, one of the things that excited me about this partnership was just the quality of service that you kept providing that continues to be the hallmark of your growth. Yeah. Can you talk to us about what makes Event Risk and your people different from what's out there?
Yeah. I think that, our process is a little unique, where I would look at some competitors that are probably larger companies that really view security more as a staffing agency as opposed to a true security company. And what I mean by that is that it's basically a revolving door for them, where they're just bringing folks in at the lowest possible wage to maintain a margin that's a set number. And their business plan is to rotate every 2 months or 3 months or 6 weeks and put a new body in there and retrain them. For us, again, we're more boutique, where we want to make sure we have quality, and we don't have the resources to continually train new people. So we'd rather get it right the first time. So we really focused on benefits, wages, and transparency with the employees, with opportunities that are there, and then what the true assignment is. We don't want to lie to somebody about what the job is to get them in the door and then say, oh, by the way, now you're going to sit at a desk 5 days a week. So those are all things, the components that are very important, I think, into retaining the talent. But I think that again, it's just a matter of having a different outlook on not being a staffing agency. We never want to be a staffing agency. That's not what we want. That's not what we're here for. So
That's great.
That's amazing, because one of the things that we've heard from when we started the company was the 300% turnover rate. And that's something that has kind of kept us from going in that direction for a very long time. Yep. So I guess Bill and the firm were waiting on the right opportunity to partner with somebody who is really at a higher level than just your regular fighting for a penny type of contract.
I'm going to build on that. So can you speak to a little bit to the culture that you and the team were able to build at Event Risk? So one of the most humorous things for me out of this whole process of getting to know you and the team was us sitting together for a whole day. I don't know how many PowerPoint presentations, Excel spreadsheets, all this stuff for a marathon of hours and hours of meetings. And at the end of the day, I'm like, so your business model is to answer the phone.
Yeah. I mean, really, that's essentially what it is. We definitely in our culture have a keen sense of awareness on the client's desire to have communication and reciprocal. So if they have a problem, they need a solution, and we can't wait 2-3 days to circle back and get them that solution. They need it now. And if we can't provide it, somebody else will attempt to, right? So our culture has always been based on responsiveness. Emails we're answering within 24 hours. That's both internal and external. Yeah. And that's with a solution. That's with the client has a need. We have to come up with a solution with them. So, luckily we've had a lot of buy-in with that, with leadership, which then trickles down to everybody else. And I'm proud to say we have a 94% retention rate. And for a company that does guarding of any sort, 94% in our industry is unheard of. Yeah. And I think a lot of that's attributed to the leadership and the follow-through, the training, and to make sure, again, full transparency to those employees, they understand exactly what they're getting into and what the expectation is. We don't change and move the goalpost as they're doing their job. This is what we told you it was. And that 6% finds out real quick that's not for them. Yeah. And they either go on their own or we help them leave. So I really think that has a lot to do with it. The sense of urgency that we have, because that's what our clients need.
And Ali, just so for context, when we did the due diligence on the guarding industry, the average turnover is 300 to 400%. Wow. So it's amazing that turnover for Eric's team is 6% versus the 3-4x that you see in the industry.
Yeah. Literally world class.
Yes.
Yeah, we're excited to bring that together for sure. Yeah. So I think people probably have questions on both sides of the fence. So for your clients, when you say we now partnering with this technology company, what are some of the questions you think you're going to get and how might you respond?
I already have those questions. They wasted no time with that. And when do I get my robot? Like that is pretty much. So again, I have
right
to,
in front of
I have to manage the expectations of like, hey, we'll get to that. But I think that, a lot of it is education with the clients as well, and what is capable, what's not, managing their expectations that they're not going to have a cyborg that's coming out on property to take over and be armed. And so I think that education piece is the most crucial, so they, again, understand what is realistic and what is not, and then having that open dialogue and feedback.
Definitely. What do you think, Bill, from our clients?
I think there's a tremendous opportunity for us to reach back to our long clients. I mean, we just had our one of our longest serving clients, 9 years of continual renewal. Would love to go sit with them and go, hey, we've got a whole new set of capabilities, and let's see how we can tailor a program for you. We've been speaking with some critical infrastructure folks that have serious budget problems, serious incidents, and are stuck. So if we can actually show up with a proper solution, I think that's going to be a game changer for the industry.
So for those that maybe can't connect the dots, or maybe if this is a little new to them, they're not familiar with like what the price of a robot is. Let's not talk about price, but tell me why it might be achievable within a budget now that wouldn't have been achievable with guards.
Yeah, I think that it's simple mathematics, right? And I think Bill touched on it earlier. with technology, there's not a meal break. There's not a restroom break. There's not somebody falling asleep.
We're not
right?
paying for health benefits.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
get sick.
So obviously that,
get
you know,
sick.
you have that component operationally. I think part two of that is that you also have now a new capability, and I don't want to share too much, but things that humans can't hear, see, scan, do, that now is working in conjunction with that human at the same time. So, and then by the way, when you lump that together, at the end of the day, it's going to be cheaper than a human to have there, right? So again, it goes back to enhancing the human that's there. I don't want to use the term superhuman, but you have
you said it. You're gonna build a better team. We're gonna build a super team.
A very elite security professional that's there with capabilities at their fingertips. And so, you know, I think that's the value add. And in the past, the past isn't yesterday, I would say. Anybody that's trying to do this, I would have to go and contract a team to do that, what they're doing, because we can't do that in-house. They would need to come contract a team to have boots on the ground element and contacts and training and certifications, license, all that, right? Now this allows, again, for one single point of contact, one approach. Client doesn't have to have 5 different vendors working on a project or an RFP. It's literally one point of contact that can check all the boxes.
And if we can become that trusted advisor to say, okay, actually, we might dynamically need to change some things. Let's swap in some additional humans, or let's put some additional technology, or the game has changed. And as Mercedes and Apoorv had mentioned, both coming to the market with a solution and then thinking about that RFP process. If you've got a competitor showing up with, let's call it 99% humans and 1% technology, good luck competing against that someone shows up with a different proportion of technology and humans, and creating significantly much more value for the client, accountable, with improved positive outcomes. If you can do that, then you've got a recurring revenue business model for a recurring societal problem, but you have to deliver. You have to lock down that number of incidents, stop the turnover that we're all very much focused on, and finally give that client some peace from them to actually do their jobs, not be managing a disparate set of vendors, a bunch of technologies, none of it talks to each other, it doesn't talk to the humans, and you really have a bit of a mess on hand. And we'd like to clean that all up. And this will work primarily for folks that have 24/7 operations, probably a large footprint, and are struggling to, get the incidents down, but they're also struggling with the budgets that Eric spoke of.
And to get to this point, we can't go as a company and tell our robot selling people, hey, now you go sell humans, or Eric's teammates say, hey, now go sell robots. We as a company have the job of coming and train our salespeople to be solution providers opposed to just product sellers. So there's work that has to take place here, and that we're all very much willing to do that work to make the acquisition successful.
Yeah, I think from a finance perspective, that's a great point. It's solutions, outcomes driven, right? I think one of the things, as Bill mentioned earlier, today, it's not, from a finance perspective, it's not just about, can I shave off a couple of dollars off of my monthly or annual expense? It's, can I provide value? Can I provide value to my clients? If I'm the recipient of the services that Knightscope provides, can I enhance the value that I get for the money that I pay per dollar, the ROI? And the way I think about this is, so on one hand, you have humans only, where we talked about high turnover, low retention, lots of, just inconsistency in the service. So that's a headache. And then you have technologies. One of the biggest things we've heard multiple times from our clients is they might have lots of technologies, but it's like your Ring camera. You get all these false alerts. 95 to 97% of the alerts you get are false alerts. And those don't require necessarily someone to go in and do something, but you still have to manage them. We have an RTX team that does exactly that. They go through alerts and they clear alerts that are not, necessary to, and only escalate the things that are needed. By combining the two, now we can actually provide both. We have a higher quality humans, and we have only the ability to only provide alerts or escalate events that truly need escalations. And that value that comes out of that is much greater than, as Bill mentioned, you cobbling together a bunch of different vendors, a bunch of different technologies, and that's got to be worth more than, just a few dollars shaved.
And Eric's focus on the team to me was really important as part of the diligence process, because we really need to stop this 100 to 400% employee turnover rates. It's not healthy for the organization. It's not healthy for the client. It's certainly not healthy for the human officer or guard. So part of, if you're watching this and you want to join the team, we're hiring like crazy. But we're looking for the elite of the elite. And one other way that I want to contribute to making sure that Eric and the team can maintain that level and even improve it from there is to give those humans some new technologies they never had before. That might be remote monitoring, it might be a robot, it might be something that they wear, but they're going to be an augmented security agent to do a lot more than they're able to do. Second, we want to invest in those folks in how they appear to our clients, to the public, to law enforcement, to ourselves, by investing the time and thought in designing some absolutely gorgeous and functional uniforms for us to build a proper nationwide brand for this autonomous security force. And then lastly, like any startup or big organization here in Silicon Valley, everyone on the team gets stock options. And so this will be another point of getting a level of ownership, not just from an employment offer letter, but for them actually to have a stake in the growth of the company. Because in order for Eric and the team to actually scale this up to $1 billion of annual recurring revenue, like we're going to have to hire a ton of awesome people, but you have to put the wonderful conditions for them to want to come join the effort and actually, I guess, join the force.
There you go. I don't know that I have coined or trademarked that yet, but maybe. So one of the things that I love about bringing new people onto the team is expanding our understanding of the industry. So the elephant in the room, we are in Silicon Valley. We are surrounded by smart people, engineers, people that do everything with AI. But what I love about your background is you have a very strong background in the industry beyond just the security company you started. So tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, I started in the military, in the Marine Corps, in anti-terrorism security. And then got into, after the Marine Corps, into executive protection for a Forbes family, and then did their detail for a while, and then worked in law enforcement in a variety of capacity there. Also as a trainer for the Naval Special Warfare Group, and then worked with a variety of different companies in the security industry itself, both as department heads for various organizations, tech, sporting, and then, one day I kept getting calls from former clients, and
you kept the same phone number, right?
I did. I kept the same phone number, and I was giving free advice, and my wife said, "Hey, dummy, you probably should maybe make that your vocation," and she was right, and that was 7 years ago. So yeah, it's definitely a welcome change of pace and watching everything grow. And now I'm really, it's almost those same feelings I had 7 years ago when I first started the company, bootstrap, because there was no bank money. I was the billing person. I was the operator that went and did the work. I was the one talking to the clients and figuring out how to write a contract.
Without ChatGPT, by the way.
Yes, right, exactly. Yeah. Old school. So, and I have that same feeling now with what's occurring, because when I take a step back and look at 30 years in this industry, if I go to any current or prospective client and say, I can provide a better human or superhuman, I can provide you technology to fill in the gaps, and it'll be budget friendly for you. I don't know anybody in our industry that is a decision maker that looks at that and says, I'm good.
Yeah, no thanks.
Right. So to me, that's the excitement of knowing the potential of what we're building here. And I think that we look back probably 3 to 4 years from now, this will be very significant, honestly.
I do want to congratulate Eric. Mercedes and I spend a lot of time at Founders here in Silicon Valley. There are literally 22,000 startups here, founded by brilliant, driven people, back to the hilt with a massive amount of capital, and yet 95% of them fail, right? And Eric here was able to bootstrap a company, get it to grow significantly and consistently, and build a tremendous amount of value in, relatively speaking, a short period of time. So you certainly should be congratulated for a big victory.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, we'll close it out here with a lightning round. So I've got a question for each of you. So when you think of the combined partnership, what is one word that sums up your feelings about this? We'll start with you, Porsche.
And I'm on the spot. One word. The future is bright. I mean,
Okay, we go with phrases in the accounting department, evidently. Okay, so we'll go with maybe a word or a phrase, Mercedes.
For me, it's time to shine, because now I got a team that can build solutions, internal, external solutions that are going to be used by people for Eric's team and for our own technologies. So it's just exciting about all the possibilities of what we can build.
Yeah, awesome. Bill?
It's up on the wall. It says
Relentless.
relentless. And from what I can gather from Eric and that team, they are relentless, and the match of culture is going to create a massive amount of value in a short period of time. And just honored to be able to even sit in this chair with all these wonderful people.
Absolutely. Eric?
Holistic, the one-stop shop.
I love it. And I will use the word excited, because we've been saying this for so long, and now we're able to publicly talk about it. So thank you all for joining us. And as we've discussed here today, we are really approaching a new millennium here and a new future of what the security industry looks like. So
Join us and be a force for good.
there you go. We do have, at the time of this recording, we have an event coming up on April 2nd. If that's something that you would like to learn more about, learn and meet the team here on site, there's more information about that on the website. However, in the additional future, we have more content coming out, so we'll be having more interviews like this, going deep into the security industry and what's next. Thanks for joining us.